How's it going, everyone? And it's that time again to once again speculate on an upcoming PlayStation State of Play or a showcase coming up. Jeff Grubb has noted, quote, "I am comfortable saying that they're planning a State of Play or maybe a PlayStation showcase around the end of September." But yes, Jeff Grubb is noting that a PlayStation showcase will be happening around September. September is the time frame they do a lot of these showcases, so that would track. The showcases are generally the bigger events, and I would say now would be the time where you would think they would get the ball rolling on what's gonna be there for 2026. 2025, a bit of a quiet year for first party. We got Ghosts of Yotei coming out. That's gonna be great. We had some third-party support, Lost Soul aside. You had Death Stranding 2 come out as well, so it's not like PlayStation's had a shortage of games, but in terms of your big first-party dropping games, a lot of them have been iced doing live service games, and also with the exponential growth in the game development cycle, when you have an L with a live service game, it's consequentially just so much more impactful than it would be in a previous generation. You know, if in a previous generation a Sony Bend took an L and for 2 years they worked on a project, well, that's 2 years. You want to look up when Sony Bend's last major new game was? Not Days Gone Remastered, it was Days Gone in 2019. That's an incredibly talented studio that's just been iced for 6 years. And there are other games that I could see get revealed, like, it might not have dawned on you guys, but it has been 3.5 years since Horizon 2 came out. Just throwing that out there, when was Horizon Forbidden West revealed? Well, I believe it was revealed alongside the PlayStation 5 in 2020. That would have been around 3.5 years or so after the release. 3 years and 4 months, I want to say. And maybe Sony's of this idea that they don't want to reveal their games way too early, but are we talking about even longer than 5 years for Horizon 3? I know that Guerrilla is working on a live service game. Nobody really knows the status of that either. If it's not Horizon 3, I feel like we gotta hear something from Guerrilla here somewhat soon. As far as that live service game is concerned, or I would even, like, this is kind of an outlier take, but again, 3.5 years since Horizon 2 came out, like, now would be around the time we would start discussing Horizon 3, and they set up a third game at the end of the second, so that makes all the sense in the world. Maybe they'll save that for next year and save that as a big 2027 game, even a 2028 game. I could see Horizon 3 end up being a game that is pivoted to be a cross-gen title on PS5 and PlayStation 6, but we'll see how that turns out. I think Saros deserves to have a big spotlight on it. I think if you're gonna announce it a showcase, the idea of building a showcase around Saros, which that's a game I think is gonna turn out to be something special because Housemarque has put out a lot of quality games. The issue with that is I just feel like at this stage of the game, Housemarque doesn't have the cachet of a Naughty Dog, of a Santa Monica, of a Sucker Punch even. They're a little bit still on the unknown side. Look, Returnal was a really cool game. I talked up Super Stardust HD, Dead Nation. I was there for all of those games, alright? I love Housemarque as a studio, but if you label it as a PlayStation showcase, expectations will be set higher, and I just don't think Saros is going to be the game that gets people like, whoa, my god, this game's incredible. I do think it has the potential to be that. I just think Housemarque's a little bit lesser known at this point, so I wouldn't position Saros in a spot like that, but if you do a State of Play and you position Saros at the end of that, I think that's a totally fine idea for Saros being a headlining game for a State of Play. On the other hand, it being a headlining game for a showcase, I just think that would be a bit of a problem. And then there's also that God of War Metroidvania title that was rumored to be in development, and I am still, it's straight cope, but I do want some of these PlayStation 3 games remastered, man. Playing Infamous at 25 frames per second or whatever it was on PlayStation 3 made me remember once again, man, it would be nice to play this game with a more consistent frame rate on the PlayStation 5, higher resolution, all that good stuff, but yeah, I just don't know if Sony's in a position where I don't even know why they don't want to do it. Maybe they just view it as Infamous won't be this big seller, but how much effort would it really take? And it would garner some goodwill from your audience of people that desperately want these games to, like, just want these games to be playable I think it would build a lot of goodwill. The Ratchet Future Collection as well. If Ratchet and Clank's gonna be iced while Insomniac does Marvel games for however many years, we were talking 2029 for the next major mainline Ratchet game, why not do a Ratchet Future Collection? Tools of Destruction, Crack in Time, and the 2 download Quest for Booty and Into the Nexus. Why not do a collection with all of that? Tools of Destruction and Quest for Booty never had trophies on PlayStation 3 either, so I'm sure people would want to replay those games. It's just little stuff like that I think would garner a lot of goodwill with your audience, and it would get people really excited, especially the more hardcore PlayStation fans. When you are doing these live service games to try to generate a lot of passive revenue off a different audience, why not do a collection that is more geared towards your hardest of hardcore PlayStation fans? You telling me God of War HD collection coming back on PlayStation 5 wouldn't do well? A Sly Cooper HD collection? I can go on and on about these games they could bring back and do for even a Thieves in Time, man. I think Thieves in Time people would not be like super excited for, but that's just something when you do have this era of a lot of studios being iced, why not do these collections of games that I think people will be excited? And yeah, there's that point out there, there's too many remakes, remasters, etc., but it's not like these remasters would completely ice Sucker Punch's studio or whoever worked on it. It wouldn't ice these studios from working on their next major project. Ben's studio just gave up 6 years on this live service game, and we still have Uncharted Golden Abyss locked away on the PlayStation Vita. Can we get that game out of Vita Purgatory? Thank you. And let me also say this, I see the comments. A lot of you guys think I'm super negative with the state of play. The last state of play I thought was pretty decent. It ended with a game in Marvel Tokon Battle that, you know, it's not really my cup of tea in terms of me getting super into these fighting games. And Arc System Works, I think they do a great job with their fighting games. They look incredible. It's just not the game that I'm constantly gonna gravitate to, but I can understand that, hey, there's gonna be a lot of people super into this game, and that's something to be excited about. And that's a big title coming out in 2026. Well, you got that. Now I think you need Sorrow's gameplay. That game got revealed earlier this year in what I think, and people will say this is crazy, but I thought the Sorrow's reveal trailer was so bad. I legitimately think it's one of the worst. I know I said this about Concord as well, but Sorrow's, I think that trailer was such an atrocity because Housemarque is a studio that is built on their incredible gameplay. You're taking away the biggest element of what would get people captivated and interested by that game, which is the gameplay. Maybe you could say, people are already sold about Sorrow's because it's Housemarque. Well, it's not like Housemarque is this incredibly well-known studio. I just know their strength is the gameplay. The core gameplay mechanics are what they always shine at, and doing a CG trailer that gave us nothing to sink our teeth into, I just don't think that was the right move. Let's get gameplay of that. I think that could end up being one of the surprising big titles in 2026, because remember, Returnal came out at a period where it was still fairly early on in the PlayStation's life, so I don't know how many people were gravitating towards Housemarque games as a AAA system-selling title for $70. I think that was a game that people skipped on, but now you've got a bigger audience that have a PlayStation 5, and I think Sorrow's is a game that a lot of people will gravitate to, so hopefully we get the big gameplay demo for that as well, and maybe schedule that for an early 26 release, maybe first quarter or two. I think that could be a big game to carry PlayStation in the first half of 2026, and then in the latter half, maybe we'll finally get Wolverine. At this point, we're not hearing anything about it, but fingers crossed that that does come to fruition, and that's one I know everybody's been dying for, but we haven't gotten an update on it since the initial reveal in 2021. Obviously, Spider-Man 2 was their priority, but Wolverine is a game I think people will gravitate to as well. So if you can get Sorrow's, Wolverine, and then you also get a Marvel Tokon next year, and maybe, you know, is it asking too much getting a remaster collection? Y'all love your remasters, Sony. Can we get some remaster collections of the PS3 games? I think that's a great year relative to some of the more recent years, so that's my 2 cents on all of that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below, and I don't even think what I want is that insane. Like, I feel like asking for 2 games from first party out of the year, a couple of smaller games, a collection. Am I asking for the world here? Is that setting my expectations too high? You guys let me know, but I think that would be a great year. That'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.